This is Brian Castles for Lattice Semiconductor. We're going to show an example of how to import an existing ispLEVER project into Diamond. So we have the Diamond software launched already. By default, it comes up with the start page, and there's an item right on the start page to say Import ispLEVER Project. Additionally, you can also go into the File menu and say Open Import ispLEVER Project. So you can get to this from either way. So in this case, we'll just click on the start page. It now asks us to find the existing ispLEVER project. So in this situation, I'll go to where my existing project is and select the existing project file, the .syn file, and say open. I'll then get a dialog, and in this dialog it'll ask me for the destination of where I want to put it. So in this case, I'll make a new folder and put it into this existing folder. And I'll give it a name. And then I'll also give a different name to the project itself. Just select OK. And then the software will import and process the design. And now I get a new Diamond project. So you see by default, I get the strategy list. So here are the 4 default strategies which come in. And then it creates a new strategy 1. And then I just get the list of my source files. I get the, in this particular case, VShell source files. I have my existing LPF constraint file, which is brought in. And in this particular design had an existing reveal hardware debugger file, and that was brought in also. Something that's important to keep in mind here is there are some restrictions. So things like NGOs that are directly in your project file that may have been from IPs that you manually copied in to that existing ispLEVER project file are not automatically copied, so you will need to manually copy those. Another thing is any options you set for map, par, things like that are not automatically copied. You will need to open the strategy file and make any changes that you want in there. Any changes to the preferences, things like setting a macro search path. You will need to manually update your preference to incorporate those. And then another item to be aware of in Diamond is LPC files. LPC files have been replaced in Diamond by IPX files. The IPX file is basically a meta file which points to files that are necessary for modules or for IPs, and the IPX file, for example, would point to an LPC file, point to the original source code. In the case of something like a PCS module, would point to the autoconfig.txt file that's generated. So it's a more robust solution than what you have in ispLEVER. So the existing LPC is brought in, but if you double click on that, you will likely be greeted by a dialog that says you need to take and regenerate this IP. So what you can do is double click, open up the IP, and here's an example, it's just a PLL. I'll recalculate it, and then I will regenerate it. And then when I close this, you'll see that in the source list, the previous LPC file was replaced now by an IPX file. So the IPX file is the new file used in Diamond that replaces having the LPC file in your source list. So that's an example of something you need to look out for. So that's just a simple example of how to import projects into Diamond from ispLEVER.